Well, when miracle happens, people say it's a God thing. But God is not just doing the miracle only, but also bringing changes in someone's life. But facing those changes are often difficult and challenging us. And changes are not all good. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. So we tend to hesitate or resist even toward the new things that God is doing. And we all love to love, we all love to be loved, but we only love the way we want to love, even toward God. So we cannot truly love, but the good news is God can. That's what we are going to share through the text today. In the text of verse 23, it says, when Jesus entered the temple, it gives us a context. Jesus entered the temple of Jerusalem, but this is not the first time he entered the temple. For Jesus, the temple was a Father's house of prayer. But he was very upset because of the way the people used the temple and abused the temple by selling and make it in commercial the buildings. So verse 12, in previous verse 12 it says, Jesus went into the temple and threw out all those who were selling and buying. Jesus was really upset. So that created some conflict between Jesus and leaders of the Jerusalem. In today's text, Jesus entered the temple again. Now the multitude are following Jesus, and Jesus is not only cleansing the temple, but also outreaching to the outcast and sinners and teaching them. So Jerusalem leaders are threatened and question about the authority. So they ask, by what authority are you doing this? And who gave you this kind of authority? So it might be a reasonable question from the Jewish leaders' perspective. If somebody comes to our church and doing the funeral without letting me know, what am I supposed to do? Who gave you this permission? But if I know that is the bishop, that might be different, but still, I'm expecting some kind of a conversation or communication before that. So, what if that person is a Jesus, the Son of the living God? He didn't give me any tips. He didn't say anything. But if he, the Son of the living God, Jesus, is here and doing something, what am I supposed to say? Who gave you this authority? So, the question is, am I recognizing Jesus and his authority in my life? And allowing him to do whatever he wants to do, even though I don't understand fully? Am I ready to submit everything to him? So they are the matters of authority and our trust. So, by what authority is Jesus doing these things? He didn't say in where it comes from, but we know it's clearly that's a divine authority. But if he said it, then they will have a good excuse to kill Jesus. This authority is from God. Then Jerusalem leaders will have a good excuse. This person is a really insult to God and probably stoned to and death. Jesus knew the dangerous trap of the questions. So he asked, where did John get his authority to baptize? From heaven or from human? Because John's authority was not accepted by Jerusalem leaders. So they were in trouble to answer. If they say it's from heaven, it shows they didn't believe the one from heaven. But they couldn't say it's from human either, because if they do, they will be afraid of the people who followed him. So here's a question to think about. Why did Jesus use the word of the baptism? What was the main point of John's message? John proclaimed, prepare the way for the Lord. That's what he was the preaching. In other words, change your heart for the Lord. So when a lot of people heard that, they changed their heart and they came to him. What shall I do? So John taught him what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And after that, they got a baptism in the Jordan River. And so that's how he taught them to live according to God's will and then baptize them. But there were some people like a Jerusalem leader who thought that they already knew God and God's will. They didn't change their way of life. Their hearts were full of arrogance. I'm the one who know God's will. So they said, I already know. So they say to Jesus, by what authority are you doing these? Those people who flocked to the river of the Jordan, they said, what shall we do? It was a question, really honest plea and desperate situation. But this person's another question, but it looks like a question, but it's not a question. It's blaming him. How come you're doing this in here? And actually, Jesus already showed the real authority in the Gospel of Matthew in many places. The real authority in his teaching, unlike any other teachers of religious law, and the real authority to heal the sick, real authority to forgive the sinners. He already showed that authority. So even demons recognize his authority, but not the Jerusalem leaders. So through the parable of the two sons, Jesus asked, with which son do you relate? The one who said yes to the Father's will but still don't do it? Or the one who didn't really care about Father's will but changed their heart and mind and actually do? And live a totally different life, all because of God's grace and forgiveness. So are we acknowledging God's grace in our lives today? No matter where we are at? Not only in times of a blessing, but also in times of a brokenness, in times of a suffering and frustration. Are we recognizing God's grace there? Even in times of embarrassment or struggle or challenging? Or are we busy enough to maintain what we already have and what we already are doing? Once I was at the church at a gate with a sign, so no through traffic. The gate will be open on Sunday morning till noon. I could understand the frustration of the church people, especially trustee. During the weekday, lots of people use the church parking lot as a through traffic, because of when they follow the street and it goes to the in through the church and go to the next the street. It's a lot of short. That way is really a shortcut. So there was a lot of traffic. But there might be a safety concern for somebody who is working at the parking lot. And there might be some concern for the financial and cars and who's going to repair that, the parking lot. So they decide to close. Then what kind of message are we giving to the people outside of the church? Are we only welcoming them, only those people who are coming on Sunday morning worship service? When it comes to the issue of confrontation, what we need to do is not saying, I don't know, like Jerusalem leaders, but doing the mission what God wants us to do by acknowledging His authority that is shown in the last chapter of Matthew 28. And Jesus said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Go, therefore, make disciples of all nations, and baptizing them in the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I've commanded you. That's the authority that He has received. That's the authority that He has given to us. So, are we doing that, the commissioning? And then Jesus gave the great commandment along with the great commissioning. What is that? Love your God with all your heart and mind and strength, and love your neighbors as you love yourselves. Love. That's a wonderful. We all want to love. We all want to be loved. But when we love, we tend to love only the way we want to love, even toward God. So some people ask their pastor, don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. And we tend to love others only those we like or agree with. We cannot truly love. But here's the good news. We cannot love, but God can. God can love us. And God show us that love in Jesus. And Jesus promised to be with us forever. So still now, with the full authority in heaven and earth, He is encouraging us to love others. Not to build a fence and gate, but to tear down them by love. He's strengthening us to love, not to segregate them, but help them to reconcile with God and with one another. So He is the one who truly makes us to love. Thanks be to God. Since last fall, every Wednesday evening, some of us have been learning about the Covenant Bible study. It's an in-depth Bible study in which participants read and discuss the Bible together. It's about the learning how to love God and how to love each other. And last week, we have learned the historical Jesus for the reconstruction of the actual word and deed of Jesus in the Bible. One of the surprising lessons was there is no historical source about Jesus from the outside of the church. I mean, we have lots of resources, but all those are internal sources. If you We do believe that Jesus is the Lord who make a big difference in the world history. But outside of the church, there is no documents from the first century. Romans were good. Romans were really good in keeping record, but none of them mention about the Jesus himself. But some of the documents mentioned about the followers of the way, the teachings of Jesus. So what does that mean? It means the Christianity has been spreading out not by Jesus directly, but his followers like you and me, who has been strengthened by Jesus and taking the Great Commission seriously and taking the great the commandment of love. So they go out and love and do. God's grace is amazing. At the same time, it often challenging us to move forward with a faith. So friends, what is the Holy Spirit is really trying to say this morning to you and me? Are we more like the religious authority in our attempt to manage any new activity God may be doing in our midst? So we say, oh, we never did that before. Oh, we have already tried and it doesn't work in here. Or though your experience and reason make you hesitate or reluctant, would you like to say yes, Lord, and do it? So you give other person one more love, one more patience, one more forgiveness, and one more trust, so that we all can experience that power of love. May the Lord bless your heart so that you may be sensitive, the voice of the Holy Spirit, so that you can share that power of love with the people around you. Amen.